In a somewhat related topic that we're going to talk about now, has to do with supplier audits. 52% of product recalls across all industries are due to supplier and contract manufacturer issues, according to the report Recall Execution Effectiveness Report. That sounded a little redundant. Okay. Even when there are quality agreements between manufacturers and their suppliers, it's usually the manufacturer that is held liable for mistakes. Usually something goes wrong, you don't go to their supplier, you say, it's the person you bought the product from, right? So therefore, ideally, manufacturers should evaluate their suppliers to ensure they're receiving quality materials to build their end product. And this is done typically through external auditing of their suppliers. However, as any of you who have tried to go this route, this isn't always easy. So here to talk about supplier audits and what you can do to make the process not only easier, but more effective is Karu, Industry Solution Director at Sparta Systems and a subject matter expert on FDA regulations. Good morning, KR.
Good morning and good afternoon. Good to see you, Dirk and Mike.
Yep. Well, just to lay the groundwork, quickly tell us the importance or the requirements of doing supplier audits.
Well, if you want to take a back a step, over the past 5-6 years, you've really seen contract manufacturers come into place, suppliers, and the supply chain for a finished product goes across continents, across countries, people don't manufacture within their four walls anymore, and as that supply chain moves out, it becomes, managing quality becomes much more difficult.
Okay, so just to be clear, what we're going to talk about a little bit here is how software in particular can help streamline this process. So one of the problems you point out in your article, the article's called Build Trust with Suppliers Through Auditing, is that the suppliers themselves may be overwhelmed with audit scheduling and audit requirements from a whole bunch of different vendors, all coming to them saying, "Hey, we need to do a supplier audit," and they've got all these different vendors, and they have to schedule the time and all that sort of stuff. How would software help in this kind of situation?
Well, it helps in a lot of ways. It's even beyond that. When you have some very large manufacturers, they have multiple auditing groups, and we hear from suppliers all the time that one auditing group from a company is walking out the door while another auditing group from the same company is walking in. Some people are doing financial audits, others are looking at their systems, some are looking at their manufacturing processes, and internally these audit groups don't know each other. So bringing all these audits together into a single software system where they can actually share data, and when an auditing group goes in, they're not asking the same questions over and over again that someone else in their company might have already gotten, and they can really concentrate on that small part that they're looking at and get in and out very quickly.
So, Karu, take us from the other side of the equation, from the procurement company side. How does this software help in that end of the equation?
Well, it's the same thing. If you think about a company and the term auditor, what does an auditor do? An auditor is checking the quality of whatever part of the process that they're looking at. So pretty much in every company, everybody's an auditor at one point in time or another. And having all this disparate information being held in silos within the companies, again, departmentally or by business unit, where they're calling on the same people, being able to share that information, it's a dollars and cents issue, that people aren't doing the same thing over and over and over again. And even worse, maybe one auditing group comes to a different conclusion than another, and if something happens with the product and they start to investigate, it's, hey, you knew about it. Well, one group knew about it, the other group didn't.
Let me put you on the spot here a little bit. When your article ran, we had a we had a reader who wrote into us and saying, you know, this type of, there's a lot of software out there that kind of does this, but it's fairly expensive, particularly on an enterprise-wide rollout. This isn't an inexpensive investment. So what is the ROI? I mean, can you give us an example of how this software pays for itself in the long term? And what is the ROI? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? What are we talking about here?
Okay, well, ROI is usually less than a year. Again, what ends up, and I'll give you an example from a top 10 pharmaceutical company that we work with that did put in a global auditing system for auditing their suppliers, and they started out by doing an inventory of who their auditing groups were. They were able to standardize their audits. Obviously, they're looking at different things. A financial person isn't going to be asking the same questions as a quality person, isn't going to be asking the same questions as an IT person. But there's some general information about that company that goes across them all. So they standardize that. They're able to look at that. And this company also had auditing groups between country to country to country. So, and no one was communicating with each other. So just bringing that communication together and saying, we need to buy this raw material, who is approved to supply it? They were able to look across the board. They suddenly found economies in that someone had found a supplier in one part of the world that could supply to other parts of the world for a lot less money. They were already approved by the company. So it's not like you have these different groups doing things over and over and over again. So actually they were able to reduce the number, not the number of auditing groups, but the number of auditors, because they started sharing audits. They also were able to look at scheduling and, not send one group to China while another group is in India, while another group is in Germany, while another group is in Ohio. They were able to, kind of team them together and go places. So there was a travel economy also. So the ROI comes from a lot of different places, but it really brings it together, and it's a measurable savings.
So two things I took out of what you just said is part of the savings come from less duplicated effort. You don't have multiple people doing exactly the same thing, but it sounds like there's also, in terms of being able to winnow out your suppliers. You may have multiple suppliers basically doing the same thing, when really, instead of 4 suppliers, you could have 2 suppliers. It's just nobody knew your supply chain was kind of stretched out in all sorts of different directions.
That's absolutely true. And let's not forget the quality part of this, which is the most important part. That if the quality fails with one of those suppliers, let's see who else we have, what's their quality, and because of these audits, and they really look. The other ROI that this company and others have realized is they really put it together with other quality processing. Auditing is part of it. Out of audits come observations and come CAPAs and change management and things like that. And bringing that all together and connecting the dots is really, one, it's a dollar saving, but more importantly, there's a better quality product, finished product going to market.
Okay. Well, that's about all the time we have right now, KR. But if you guys, if viewers, if you're interested in a little bit more information on supplier audits and how a software solution can help kind of streamline this process and maybe give you some extra savings within your supply chain, you'll want to look at the webinar on December 12th at 11 a.m. Pacific, December 12th at 11 a.m. Pacific. Increase supply chain integrity by maximizing supplier audits. That's a free webinar. If you click on the article link for KR's article below the player page there, from that page, there will be a link out to register for the webinar. So, KR, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, so long.
We'll see you on Thursday. All right, good stuff there, yeah.
Yeah, the ROI is important. I mean, as we kind of touched on, there are a lot of there are several large companies out there that sell software in this space, but it's not inexpensive, particularly as you're talking about, if you're going to roll it out globally, you want to see that ROI, and it looks like the ROI really comes from being able to really more streamline the process than anything. I mean, you're really saving time.
Efficiency as well as quality.
Efficiencies,
as well as better quality, sure, absolutely. Great, good stuff there. Well, thanks.